Look, not everybody is born with massive genetics. Not everybody is born big. So none of us are born big, but you know what I mean. Not everyone is born with the DNA to become big. So if you're one of those people, you're gonna need to use this or technique and experience over time to get a leg up. And that applies to martial arts and fight sports. That applies to sports in general. And today, specifically, it applies to things like wood splitting, logging, woodworking, timber, etc. So today we're going to be covering 4 different techniques that you can use when splitting wood, and then we're going to rate each technique, and you can decide for yourself which one is one you'd like to implement into your everyday life. But first, I'd like to thank No Bull because they are our video sponsor today, and they have made it so that we do not have to have our ads on. Our YouTube ads will be off so that the rest of the video is ad-free. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get right into it. So obviously, I know I don't look like much of a runner, and it's because really, I know I'm not built like one, but it doesn't change the fact that I still do run about 50 miles a month. So it's not a lot. Obviously, I'm not like a competitive runner, but I do use running for one very specific purpose in my life. I use it as sort of a cap or a ceiling to make sure I don't put on any muscle that I can't carry in an efficient way. It kind of keeps me within my own limitations of not putting on muscle that makes me slow or bulky. And running has always worked as a really good tool for me to ensure exactly that. Now with that said, not only do I not look like a runner, I have really flat, wide feet. If you've ever looked at a running shoe recently, it's not really a good foot shape to have for today's running shoes. But good news is, today what I'm talking about is a new running shoe called the No Bull Drive. No Bull is the brand, Drive is the name of the shoe. And as you can tell, that toe box, the area around that part of my foot is a lot wider. So there's room for my toes to kind of breathe a little bit. And more importantly, this shoe is built and shaped for a hybrid function, meaning you can use it for running and then get right back to the gym, and you could get into a mobility routine, calisthenics, lifting, any corner of the gym, and you would still be at home with this shoe in that platform. There is a discount code, DRIVE50, that they're giving out right now that I think gets you $50 off of purchases of $125 or more. That's actually a pretty good discount code. Usually when I work with brands or do an ad read or something, the discount codes are kind of marginal at best, but $50 off, $125 or more if you use the code DRIVE50. I know the word hybrid is sort of trending right now, but I don't really think it's even necessary. I think it's kind of a no-brainer. Everybody should be able to do things in an anaerobic environment and an aerobic environment. So with that said, if you are somebody who does a lot of different things in your workouts like I do, then the No Bull Drive is a perfect solution to that exact type of routine. Now the first technique we're going to be talking about today, I refer to as the flick. A lot of people do this who have been around wood splitting for a long time, but I don't see a lot of people teaching this. So to explain it in short form here, what you're going to do is practice making contact, and right at the moment that it starts to split, you're going to flick and rotate your wrists over flat so that it pries the wood open. It really doesn't make a fun sound with the fiberglass handle, but it obviously works really good. And you don't have to put a lot of power into it. As much as I like that technique, it is going to put a lot more wear and tear on the wrist joint over time. There's no arguing that. Talk to anyone who's played baseball in their life and ask them if they've dealt with wrist issues in the joint, bursitis, etc. So I think it's worth considering that it's a useful trick to have if you're willing to embrace a little extra wear and tear on your wrists. Let's say a 7 out of 10. I'm definitely not giving it a 10 out of 10 because it's a lot harder to do that full swing, full power with accuracy and not risking, you know, bounce back or weird angles or glancing off and stuff. So good move when used in the right context and when not overused. Now for this next technique, we all kind of deal with this, but sometimes your axe will just get stuck in a piece of wood and you have the decision to pick it up and keep whacking that same piece of wood down, or you have the option to try to rip that axe handle out. There is a third option, and I'm about to show you what that third option is. It's a little bit heavy of a piece to be doing it with, but you get the point. Let's score it a 7 out of 10 again. Because one, when it does work, it's really fun. It's cool to use physics on your side like that. It's kind of a nice little hack. Two, it is more effective than picking up the wood again and slamming it back down. But more importantly, the reasons why I don't like it is because you are picking up a heavy piece of wood over your shoulder, near your head. It can be very frustrating when it slips off or falls off. And again, doesn't work on all kinds of wood. That's not gonna work on a nastier grained piece of wood the same way that it works on like straight grained oak. If you don't believe me, try it on some eucalyptus. Try it on something that's not clean, nice grain like the ones I just showed you. Now this next technique is called squaring. It's gonna speak for itself, but when you look at the wood here, there's sapwood on the outside and heartwood in the middle. We're gonna take advantage of the weakness of how the integrity of the wood works, and we're just going to chip off the edges or square it. And you can see what it's allowing me to do is create the size pieces I already want and work with knots in their weakest location. So you keep working your way around until you end up with a much more square piece. And then what you have left is much weaker than what you started with. Now I know what you're thinking as you watch me do this. Yeah, well that's a small piece of wood. So I will plug in a video right here while I'm talking of me doing the exact same thing. Very difficult to split piece of red gum. And in the meantime, for our satisfaction, I'm gonna finish the job on this one. Now that technique, let me finish. That technique gets an easy 10 out of 10 from me. The reason why this is, in my opinion, the most beneficial technique to learn is because of the fact that one, everyone can do it. Two, small axes work really good with it. Three, you don't even have to have a splitting axe. Oftentimes it'll work with a felling axe, a chopping axe. You can do that technique with just about any halfway decent splitting tool. Let's give it a 9.5 because I guess glancing off and hitting something could happen. It's not a perfect 10, but I'd say it's even better than swinging down the middle on pieces of wood. So that, in my opinion, is at the top tier because it's almost as fast as using a wood splitter. I'm faster at that than using a wood splitter. Safe, doesn't require extra tools, and leaves you with pieces of wood that are already the size that you want them. Now this next technique is a favorite amongst timber workers and loggers alike. And essentially what you're going to do is you're going to take a big round of wood. Today, this is just the bottom stump that I need to get rid of, but you can do it on any hardwood, you can do it on any fresh wood, doesn't matter. You're going to take a long barred chainsaw and you're going to cut along the grain, not against it, along the grain on your big round, on your big stump, and you're going to cut at least 3/4 of the way down. Some people like to go even further down because they're already there, and it's going to make splitting a big log, a big round, much easier. It's called noodling because when you use the chainsaw with the grain like that, it makes these really long bits of sawdust. So you end up with noodle, spaghetti looking sawdust. If you're doing that on every single log, the truth is you're having to use a chainsaw, you're having to use another tool, and you're having to go through a lot more chains. Obviously the chain isn't having to work as hard going with the grain, but it's still worth considering that you're using the chainsaw a lot more that day. And on top of that, it's obviously not really a wood splitting technique, it's a chainsaw and axe technique, so you're having to use both, and that's why I don't really consider it a pure technique for just using an axe. I give it a, let's say, 9 out of 10, just because of the fact that not everybody has a chainsaw that can cut through big rounds like that on hand, so that's a limitation in itself. But with that said, those are the 4 techniques I wanted to cover today. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Oh, and keep in mind, I did all of those with a very inexpensive axe. That was not on accident, that was on purpose. Accident. That was on purpose because I want to use a tool that a lot of people have access to instead of one of my really nice axes. So, hope today helped. Try to remember all the names to all those techniques. I know I won't. And I'll see you guys on the next video.